What is music therapy? Mental health? How does it work? Don't worry, we're gonna talk all about it and have some real and fun conversations. You're listening to the Live Tune Talks. Welcome everybody to our first ever episode for our podcast. This is super exciting. My name is Ivy and I'm your host for today. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a very, very long time and finally have a chance to do it now. So, this is a podcast where we create a space for honest conversations about life and mental health. And as a music therapist myself, I think that these conversations, hold very dearly to my heart. And I feel like we could definitely use more of these conversations in Malaysia. So, today with me, I am super honored to introduce a very, very special guest for this episode. She's the president for our Malaysian Music Therapy Association and been doing many amazing things for our association. And of course, a wonderful human being. So let's welcome Miss Sherrene Teh.
Hello,
Hello,
everybody.
Sherrene.
Hi, thanks, Ivy, for this opportunity for me to share. And yeah, let's see what we can bring about today.
Yes, awesome. Thank you for being here. Super exciting. And yeah, why not to start us off, why not take a moment to say hi to our listeners and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
All right. I'm a mother of one, soon to be mother of two.
Wow.
Um, I've been a music therapist for wow, almost a decade now. Next year will be my 10th year. Time
Mm,
flies.
wow.
Um, and it's been a journey uh, uh, from graduating after SPM to becoming a music therapist, which I probably will share later on, how
Yes.
I eventually became a music therapist. And on top of that, as Ivy said, I'm currently the president for the Music Therapy Association. We are trying our best to advocate for music therapy in the country. I have a great team that's supporting me and also doing a great job. In fact, they are doing most of the job. I just try to pull people together, and cast the vision and set
Mm,
the direction. But without a team behind me, without the people behind me, I won't be able to do this alone. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank the team for being such a great support as well to me and for the association. And I'm glad, Ivy, you decided to come back and practice here in Malaysia to add on to the
yes.
numbers of music therapists in the country. Yeah, so that's just a little bit about myself.
Awesome. Wow. Thanks for sharing. And yeah, I do really appreciate, like all that you do for our association, just adding so much value to this music therapy field in Malaysia and yeah, just all that contribution. So thank you for all that you do. Yeah, so maybe Shireen, can you just walk us through a bit of your journey, of becoming a music therapist? I think maybe a lot of people might this might be the first time, that they have heard of like, music therapy? What is that? Like why, what have inspired you to be a music therapist out of so many other occupations in the world?
Yeah. Well, just to share a little bit about my experience, I think having run workshops and trainings for the past 9 years in Malaysia, I think the awareness of music therapy has increased very very much.
Mm,
When I first came back about 9 years ago, yeah, about 90% of people, when you ask if you've heard of music therapy, they would say no. But now,
mm,
actually, there's more people who say, yeah, I've heard of music therapy, but
wow.
really what you guys do you guys just listen to music, or
Mm.
do you play certain music? What is the best music to play for people? So people do know about music therapy, but not really in a
Mm.
specific manner. Well, I didn't want to be a music therapist in the first place. I actually did A levels after SPM, and
Mm.
I wanted to be a pharmacist. But halfway through, I told my parents, I don't think I can be a pharmacist. I will die of boredom. And I'm not so much of the studious kind of person. So
Mhm.
A levels was really, really tough, but I finished it anyway. Having my parents to persist on and say that, since you've started it, why not you just finished it? So
Mm.
completed my A levels, and I decided to do a degree in music. And I
Mm.
was very fortunate that my parents agreed, knowing
Yeah.
that after I graduate, there's probably not like a clear career path for me as a musician in the
Mhm.
country.
Right.
So they allowed, I mean, they supported me anyway. So I did my music degree from UCSI, majoring in
Mm.
classical music, performance in classical music. Um, and guess what? I graduated and I was working in a chemical company for 3 years after that.
Oh, wow. I did not expect that.
Yeah, so it was a total different route from being a music graduate. And
Mhm.
again, I was very fortunate because my boss who hired me, she was actually being very brave to hire a fresh graduate who had zero idea about what I was going to do. I was hired to be an executive in a corporate communication department. So
Mm.
basically, we do a lot of some public relations work. We do internal communication where we
Mhm.
produce newsletters, we do
Right.
interviews, we write speeches for the managing directors or the CEO of the company. We do external communication, we do career fairs and stuff like that. So it was really new to me.
Mhm.
But I stuck on for 3 years anyways because it was a
Mhm.
really, really great opportunity, and I got to work with colleagues all around the world because it was a transnational company. So they had
Mhm.
offices basically in almost every country. And I got to travel quite a bit. So I got to see the world and I got to experience the corporate world. Um,
Wow.
but along the way, after 1.5 years working there, I realized that,
Yeah.
corporate is probably not what I want to do. And
Mm.
I really don't see myself climbing the corporate ladder.
Mm.
So pharmacy door was closed because I knew I would be so bored. Corporate world wasn't for me. So I started doing some research about what else can I do with my music degree other than being a
Mhm.
music teacher or a performer. So I
Mhm.
came about music therapy, and I recall that during my studies in UCSI, we actually had a master class who we had a lady who briefly spoke about music therapy, and I vaguely remember what she said. So somehow I managed to get in touch with her, and she got me connected with Kagi and Shoba, who were pioneers of music therapy in Malaysia. In fact, Kagi is still practicing in Malaysia.
Mhm.
Shoba has migrated to the US.
Ah,
So
okay.
I spoke to them and I gave them a call, and I realized that music therapy was something that I was looking for because I really wanted to work in a healthcare setting. That's why being a pharmacist, because doctor you need to be
Mm.
study for 10 years, and I don't see myself doing that.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, um so music therapy, I was like, I have a music degree and it's
Mm.
healthcare related.
Yeah.
So that's how I got inspired, and I just went on and did my research. I
Mhm.
Google, I read up, I watched videos, and I contacted Kagi and contacted Shoba. And Kagi was kind enough to have me in some of her sessions just to observe
Mm.
what is it all about before
Yeah.
I really quit my job and pursue music therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So after another 1.5 years of doing all this research while working in the chemical company, I decided to quit my job and pursue masters in music therapy at the University of Melbourne.
Mm,
So I quit
wow.
my job, and when I quit my job, it was then the managing director told me, actually we wanted to send you to Hong Kong to work. And I was like, okay, a bit too late now. because
Wow.
because I've
Okay.
already decided that I wanted to be a music therapist. So I
Mm,
quit my job anyway. Then I prepped myself for a few months and I went to Melbourne for 2 years to do my
mm-hmm.
master's.
Yeah.
And then that's how it all started. That's probably about
Wow.
11 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So 2 years
Very
of studies, then I
nice.
came back to Malaysia and I've been practicing since then. And I
I
think,
see.
yeah,
Wow.
so it's quite a journey. And when you put all the puzzles together, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
Wanted to be a pharmacist, healthcare, and
Mm,
being in the chemical company doing PR work actually helped me in terms of the confidence and being able to do communications really well, because it
mm,
has trained me to do lots of presentations. And coming back, I have to do a lot of advocacy work for music
mm,
therapy. That's
yeah.
why I ran a lot of workshops, a lot of trainings, giving a lot of talks about music therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So all along the way, the experiences that I gathered really helped me to be being a music therapist now. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm really grateful for the journey, although it was quite a journey, about almost 10 years of 7 years of going
Mm-hmm.
north, south, east, west, and then coming back to music and
Yeah.
doing music therapy again. Yeah.
Right. Wow. That is I feel like when I was hearing it, it's almost like, like it's you are just being put like different pieces of puzzles like being put together like and then it will just turn out to be like a beautiful piece of puzzle. And I feel like that's also an encouragement, for those who's listening right now. And maybe you have you're not 100% content about what you're doing, and so you like do not know what the direction you're going. And I feel like like your story could be a very good inspiration for them, like don't give up. And I'm sure you are would you say you regret choosing this path?
Definitely not,
No.
because that few years I was saying that I went north, south, east, west.
Mm-hmm.
It made me realize that, this is actually not my interest. So I knew that
Mm-hmm.
because I've tried it, I've put
Yeah.
my hands on it, and I actually worked in a production house for a bit as well, just to earn some money while I look for other jobs, or
Right.
So I've done a little bit of
Mm.
production, like advertisement production. I've seen how it happened. Mm, A
Mm-hmm.
levels study type things like
Uh-oh.
pharmacy and stuff. Oh, not me,
I see.
and corporate. So I knew that those path wasn't for me, and it
Mm-hmm.
made me even more sure that yes, music therapy is really the one that I want to pursue, and I want to make
Mm,
it as my lifelong career, if
yeah.
possible. So that helped me to decide in a way. And yeah, I always tell those fresh graduate or students who's just completed SPM and stuff like that, just give a try. Whatever that you think you want to try in life, try it
Mm-hmm.
in your 20s. Just go for it.
Yeah.
And through that, you will discover who you are as a person and
Mm.
what you were meant to do.
Wow, that's so
So
good.
um,
Mm.
whatever experience that you go through, any company that you work with, is never going to go to waste, because it will just
Mm.
add on to your experience and your ability to see things from different perspective.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow, so good. I think that's really a very, very good advice. Like everything that you go through, it's actually not wasted.
Yeah.
And it's gonna, add value to whatever you're gonna do. So yeah, that is some Very wise words. Yeah, thank you for that.
No
So,
problem.
um, yeah, so I think I really, this is one question that I love to ask like every music therapist that that I get to know. And because every time, like when we talk about music therapy, we need to, tell them, oh, what is music therapy? And, people would have a lot of questions. And maybe in your very own words, how would you explain to people what music therapy is?
This might seem like it's a very simple four-word question,
Yeah.
but it's the toughest question for a music therapist to answer.
It's so
Um,
true.
oh my God. Just to share with you a joke.
Yes.
I have a classmate from China who did 5 years of music therapy before she came to do a master's, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she came in, so at the end of our 2 years, we wanted to do like a video of a memento of everybody talking about their experience of the 2 years.
Mm.
And her video was started off, I came in not knowing what music therapy is. And after 2 years, I still don't know what music therapy is. And I was like, man, it's so true. Because I think having to define what music is in itself is
Mm.
tough, because what you know about what you experience about music is so different from me. And
True, yeah.
that's why being a music therapist, it's just so challenging. But through the years, I have learned to try to help people to understand. And the shorter it is, the easier it is for people to understand. So what is music therapy? Music therapy to me um, is the use of music
Mm-hmm.
as a medium for me to work with my clients.
Mm.
Yeah, in one sentence, what is music therapy? I use
Yeah.
music as a medium to work with my clients. So in everything that we do during a music therapy session, it is through music, be it singing or playing instruments or
Mm-hmm.
songwriting or listening to music, and it's music related most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of people may think that we need to use music like 100% all the time in our sessions, and probably this is not something very true. Like sometimes we don't use music sometimes, but this is something that we are almost like an asset, that we can bring for our clients. So I love that how you say like it's a medium, for you to connect with your clients, to work with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, so maybe can you just share with us, how does a session look like? When people say like music therapy, right, they'll be like, so you just play and sing to your clients, or you, wow, that's very nice thing, So how does a session look like?
Well, a session could look very different from one session to another.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what makes music therapy so unique in a way. And I think easiest for me to explain how does a session look like would be if I give an example of, for example, if I work with a kid who maybe I can share some of my stories. Um,
Yes.
I used to have a client who was then 13 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and he's diagnosed with severe cerebral palsy. So he was actually on the wheelchair um, all his life, and he can't move any of his limbs. He's not able to go to the toilet by himself. He was nonverbal. He can't speak. In fact, interaction and talking, he's not able to do that.
Right.
So if you can imagine, he would just sit on the chair and yeah, maybe just his eyes is able to move a little bit of his head, but
Mm.
that's just about it. Um, Having to move his arm is it takes a lot of effort from him.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, of course, both his feet, it was challenging for him to move, so he's unable to stand, unable to walk. Eating was also a challenge for him. So, every part of him is just, it takes lots of effort for him to do
Mm-hmm.
simple tasks that we take for granted. For example, just lifting our arm.
Right.
Mom approached me and she said that, I have done all I can and I don't know what else to do
Yeah.
for my son. In fact, she told me that the doctor actually told her that you don't need to do a lot for your son because he won't live that long and he won't be able to do much in life. So I
Mm-hmm.
said, actually, I don't believe in that
Mm.
because I think if a person is motivated enough or motivated enough to want to leave, he will or she will
Yeah.
because, there's that instinct of survival in all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the most basic thing when I work with a client is to be able to help them to communicate in whatever way, but for them to be able to tell at least yes or no,
Yeah.
or being able to make very simple decision, for example, what they want to eat, whether they want to eat rice or noodles,
Mm-hmm.
being able to do that and communicate that to their caregiver.
Mm.
So I told them, I said, okay, well, I will do my best to work with your son. So that was how we started off.
Mm-hmm.
And the first 3 to 6 months of working with this client, because there's just so many areas that I can work with in terms of speech and
Mm.
communication, his mobility, his
Yeah.
physical, his cognitive, his learning,
Mm.
every area actually I can work with. But I told the mom, as a music therapist, as a therapist, for me, first and foremost, if is for him to be able to communicate his
Mm.
wants
Yeah.
so that he's not so frustrated. In fact, he was actually starting to hurt himself because he was always so frustrated. Nobody could understand him. He couldn't tell what he wants, or he couldn't express, and nobody could understand him like in the way that he was communicating.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first goal, to help him to be able to use his eyes or his head or something, his
Mm.
voice, not singing, not in words, but maybe just sound like ah to say
Mm.
yes, you know, and for him to be able to understand that concept,
Yeah.
you know. So that was my first aim. And for the first 3 to 6 months, actually, every session that I go in, I will just sing to him for an hour,
Yeah.
just singing with my guitar, no words,
Mm.
just sing ah. And actually, I was like almost giving up because I couldn't get any response from him,
Mm.
because he wasn't able to interact or, like, respond. He
Yeah.
maybe he doesn't know. I think he doesn't know how,
Mm.
because eventually after 6 months he started responding. So after, I would sing and then I would give a pause, and then he would just so it's like,
Mm.
wow, okay, all right, now he's getting it, you know.
Yeah.
But it took me 3 to 6 months
Wow.
of just singing, and I was like, am I doing something for him, or I'm just, not helping him at all? But I
Mm.
think what was also very helpful was mom was in the session,
Mm.
and she was also learning what I was doing, because I
Yeah.
explained to her, like, okay, this is why I sing just no words,
Yeah.
because I just wanted him to know that you can use your voice
Mm-hmm.
to do something. So,
Yeah.
and mom started singing to him also every night before they go to sleep. And I mean,
Wow.
how amazing is that, that the
Yeah.
mom gets to bond with him. And I think the mom started
Mm.
to feel like, hey, I'm actually helping my son to be able to be independent in that sense, to be able to
Yeah.
communicate, to have that sense of autonomy, to be able to make decisions for himself, or to have a voice, just to
Mm.
have a voice.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that session could look like I was just singing to him, playing the guitar, but at the back
Yeah.
of my mind, my aim was actually to help him to find his voice to communicate. So
Mm.
after that 6 months, he started making more sound. And then eventually, after 1 or 2 years of working with him, mom actually reported back. So I had to terminate or stop that therapy session with him because I shifted over to PJ and then I got married. So I couldn't see him in Klang.
Mm-hmm.
But mom, I think she continued and then, um, observing what I've been doing with him, mom just continued doing whatever. And mom actually told me that, now he can actually tell and communicate to mom what he wants to eat, whether he wants to eat rice or biscuit or noodles. Before
Wow.
this, mom would decide for him,
Yeah.
but now he can decide on his own.
Mm.
And mom said also that at that time, he would want to join the family at the dinner table, and he wants to
Mm-hmm.
also contribute in their
Oh.
chats,
Wow.
in their
Yeah.
dinner talks. So
Uh-huh.
when I heard that, I was like, wow, that's great. Like, from being so passive and non-responsive to
Mm-hmm.
having that motivation of wanting to communicate and be part of the conversation over dinner,
Yeah.
with the family. I think that's really empowering for that teenage boy that I was working with, for that young person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, and subsequently, we were working on him moving his arm and stuff like that. So he was able to move his arm a little bit more, being able to open the door himself,
Yeah.
although he was still on the wheelchair. Um, but you could see that he had more motivation and he was looking forward to the sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And he was looking forward to, I think, to even just decide what he wants for the meal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in a session, it could just look like me singing, you know, or in a session, it could just look like me playing the drums. But there's always the intention behind, like, okay, so we play the drums and I would look at how he hold the mallet or he hold the
Mm-hmm.
beater and help him to be able to hold it well, the grabs, to be able to play the drum, whether it's on tempo or not,
Mm-hmm.
how his arm is like, is it just like that, or you
Mm.
know, how comfortable he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, that's just a little bit of a gist of really how could a music therapy session look like and what could
Mm-hmm.
happen and what could we see down the
Yeah.
road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good. Wow. And I think like as you say, different sessions can look very, very differently, from every, different client, And I think one of the main things that I be really struck me when you were sharing the story was that I think it all starts from, having the belief, you seeing the potential in the client, and you
Yeah.
just you make a lot of times, like as music therapists, I feel like, we have been given or been told that, oh, my child, this child cannot do this. This child is diagnosed with this. So we are given a list of like the things that they cannot do, or like, that they cannot do, or like all the limitations. But I think as music therapists, like what you've mentioned earlier, that you actually believe in them before anything else, and you saw the potential, and you saw that hope, and that you are willing to empower, and not only the client but also the mom.
Yeah.
So you're not only just working with the client but also as a family as a whole. So I feel like um this is such a meaningful job, that because you are not only able to impact just one life, but you're impacting the whole family as well. So yeah, I think that's something really, really beautiful, and I just love hearing like patient stories, and yeah, just these things really just gives me life. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing that.
No problem. And I think that's probably one of the client or one of the experiences in
Mm,
my 9 years of being a music therapist that actually keeps me going.
wow.
Knowing
Yeah.
that, I might not see uh, results in 1 month or 2 months, but along
Yeah.
the way, I might not be there to see the results, But
Mm,
when you work closely with the parent or with the family, and they're able to bring that into their daily life, I
yeah.
think that for me uh, is best, because we only get to see the client once a week
Mm,
most of the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so good. Very, very good. Yeah, so tell us more about MMTA. MMTA stands for Malaysian Music Therapy Association. You'll just share with us, what's currently happening in the music therapy field in Malaysia.
um the team is growing. I
Mm-hmm.
think for me that's a very encouraging perspective to look at in terms
Yeah.
of the music therapy field, because there has been maybe a few years after I came back that there was just 5 of us doing the work.
Mm,
And now we actually have a bigger team of therapists, music therapists in the country. In fact, the association now we have about 17 or 18 members,
oh.
which is so great. Although to some professionals might like, what? Just 17 or 18 of you in the country? But we were only five, maybe about
Mm,
5 years ago or so. So we have just managed to start our membership drive early last year,
mm,
just before MCO happened. Um, and now we have grown to 17, 18 members. Uh, and I think the awareness, like I mentioned earlier, is there.
yeah.
However, most of the therapists are still doing lots of private practice, lots of freelance work. So whereby they do a lot of home visits, or they have their individual organizations that hires them maybe to do part-time a few days a week at a particular center, or a few
Mm,
hours a week at a particular center, or a resident or something.
yeah.
um, our goal is to create more jobs. One of the things that we want to do is to be able to create more jobs, um, mostly focusing on the hospitals, whether it's private or government hospital. But unfortunately, with the COVID pandemic,
Mm,
everything had to be put on hold, because
yeah.
I think treating COVID patients now is the utmost important. So we had to put that on hold. So uh, yeah, and the other thing is continue to do advocacy. So we used to run training workshops. Like I used to do quite a bit of that before COVID happened. But now
Mm,
because of COVID, it's so hard to do in person, or a lot
yeah.
of organizations are also putting all these trainings and workshops on hold because financially they are finding it a struggle, or
Mm,
um, even having many people to meet in one venue is a challenge as well. So that has slowed down quite a bit as well. Um, but as an association, we try to continue the advocacy work, whereby we move on to social media. So we
mm,
have started our Instagram channel,
yes.
and we hope to be able to um, do more on our Facebook and Instagram. So we started Instagram, I think, just probably end of last year.
Mm, okay.
So we are still working on that. It's work in
Yeah.
progress. Also, the other big thing for the association is that we have just written into the Allied Health Department of the Ministry of Health for
Yes.
music therapy.
Yeah.
So we hope to be able to be accepted under the Allied Health Department in the Ministry of Health. So if when that happens, I think it's going to be a big breakthrough for music therapy in
Oh,
the country. And it's going to be
yes.
really easy for us to also uh, do work at the government
Mm,
hospitals and at the government sector, which is something that we really, really want to do. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
So,
Whoa.
yeah, that's just a little bit of what the association has been up to.
Yes,
Mm,
wow, that's amazing. Very exciting about the, allied health, and really hope that, it gets approved soon. And I think, yes, this will be a very, very big breakthrough
yeah.
indeed.
Yeah, it is. We've been trying for many years. In fact, the pioneers, Shoba, Kagi, and Gurpreet, they
Yeah.
have been trying. So music therapy has been in the country for 20 odd years now. So it's been that long that we've been
Oh,
trying.
wow.
But
Oh
now
my
we are continuing
gosh.
the work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll
Wow. I
see. We'll
didn't
see.
know. I didn't know that it's been around for that many years in
Yeah.
Malaysia.
Yeah. But it's
Wow.
just been the three of them for quite many years though, maybe about 10 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Wow,
then
wow.
subsequently the few of us came back, then we grew to about 5 or 7, and
Mm-hmm.
then now we are growing even bigger. So that's great.
Mm. So, I know you mentioned about, what's the currently, what's happening in the music therapy industry in Malaysia, but as a president, what maybe tell us a bit more, a bit of what your vision for MMTA, or rather, what do you really wish to see happening in the healthcare industry in Malaysia?
I think what I really wish as a music therapist is for the healthcare team to be able to work even more closely with each other.
Mm,
Um, it's I wouldn't say it's challenging, but I think because the healthcare industry in Malaysia is constantly on like everyone is just so busy, because there's just so much
yeah,
work to do, and I would consider that we still don't have enough healthcare professionals in the country, you know.
right,
Um, I mean, music therapy itself, there's just a lot of clients to see, so much work to do, and so many things that can be done if we have more people,
yeah,
in the field.
mm,
My hope, in fact, what I've been trying to do in these past few years is trying to have a group of professionals from different field to be able to work together as a team. Like for example, if I have one client,
mm-hmm,
and I think my client also needs to see an occupational therapist and a speech therapist,
yeah,
and I would have a few of my friends who I can trust and I know that we can work well together,
mm-hmm,
and to refer my client to them. And if
yeah,
my client needs to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist, clinical psychologist, I
mm,
have friends who does that. So and when they are friends and you are connected and you're in touch, you can actually share and talk about the client and work together with the client as a team,
mm,
rather than
yeah,
all of us doing our individual thing
yeah,
with that same person. And that
yeah,
poor same person, same client is like, okay, this therapist asked me to do this therapist asked me to do another thing. I mean, how
yeah,
confusing can that be for that client?
mm-hmm,
So that's actually what my personal goal is, and I think what the association is wanting to do as well, because we actually reached out to some of the other association,
mm,
like the OT and the speech one, to
yeah,
see how we can connect and work together to maybe organize some talks or workshops. But
mm,
because of the pandemic, we have to put all these things on hold as well. So I think that's probably what I would want to see happen in the country,
mm,
for all the health professionals to be talking to each other and working better
yeah,
together. I think that would actually bring a lot of benefit to the patients or to the clients that we work with.
mm-hmm,
Mm,
yeah. That's so good. I think just really normalizing working together as a team, as is so important. We are better when we work together. We have each of our own strengths, and yeah, looking forward to see that happening in the country.
yes.
And I know we talk about a lot about music therapy and mental health, healthcare, and everything, and just maybe there are listeners out there, listening to this and like wonder, like there's always like advocacy that we can do better. And how can the public, do to help, us in raising awareness and yeah.
Raising awareness about music therapy, or raising
Yes,
awareness about
music
how can the
therapy.
public, yeah, I think what the public can do is to really find out, first and foremost, what really music therapy is, and if
Mm-hmm.
they are in doubt about it, they can feel free to reach out to the association, reach out to music therapists. They can go to the Malaysian Music Therapy Association website. There's a section where they can click on to find a music therapist, and they can just write to anybody, or they can just write to me, an email to find out, and of course we will direct them to some videos or some resources about music therapy that they can learn more about. And I think secondly, for the public, whenever they are looking for a music therapist to work with them or with their children or with someone
Mm.
that they, or their loved ones or their friends, um, be sure to make sure that the music therapist is a qualified music therapist.
Ah, yeah.
There's just so many people out there who claims that they do music therapy without any proper qualification. So
Mm-hmm.
I would encourage the public to actually really find out uh, whether they are qualified or not, and
Yeah.
they can always also check with the association or even talk to the therapists themselves
Mm-hmm.
and find out, where did they study and stuff like that. I think um, every music therapist, we have learned and we are taught to be ethical in our practice. So, and to make sure that we are accountable in
Mm-hmm.
what we do, and also accountable to the clients or to the patients and their family. So I think that's probably two things that would be very helpful um, for us as a music
Mm.
therapist, from the public, what they can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. And just to put it out there, I don't think we have mentioned this previously, but music therapists, we are not just anyhow. We are certified. So I
Yes,
think
that's
because a
right.
lot of people think that, oh, like I can play music and then I sing to my clients and they feel better, and I also can become a music therapist.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
music therapy is just like any other professional courses where you have
Mm-hmm.
to go through intensive training.
Yeah.
If it's a master's program, it's 2 years, just like any other master's program or MBA or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a degree, it's a 3 years or 4 years study. And I think in order to graduate, every music therapist has to do internships of
Mm-hmm.
certain hours, no matter
Yeah.
which country you graduate from. There's a certain minimum requirement of certain hours of internship that you need to go through, so that to make sure that you really know what you are doing and you are accountable to a qualified music therapist who would oversee your work as a student.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like you say, it's just not an anyhow title that that one can call themselves music therapists. Yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
So remember, if you are currently wanting to find a music therapist, do find a legit one, not the anyhow one.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. So, Sherrene, maybe you can give us one advice. What's one advice that you can give to someone who maybe who's aspires to become a music therapist? Maybe someone who's like after listening to this podcast, they're like, oh, I want to become a music therapist. Like, what can I do now? Like, what's one advice that you would give?
Uh, okay. Let's just do this. Being jack of all trades, but master of one instrument.
Wow,
I
wow, this is good. This is good.
I mean, I having been a music therapist, I realized the years of my exposure in terms of instruments, playing instruments, and being in a choir, being a marching band, and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It gave me lots of experience playing different instruments, and that
Mhm.
definitely helped because you wouldn't know what clients or who will come your way, and you might have a client who's really interested in drums,
Mhm.
and if you have not played the drum or you don't know anything about the drum, it would be a struggle
Yeah.
to work with the client. So don't just master one, but I think and forget the others, but being jack of all trades but master of one instrument that you are really really good at, but at least have your hands on all many other instruments, and expose yourself to choir, to singing, to vocal
Mhm.
training, to as many different stuff that's music related as possible, music recording, um, yeah, playing all different types of instruments from different instrument families. Yeah, I think
Awesome.
that's one that came to my mind, because I
Mhm.
always tell people, don't just be good at one,
Mm.
know a
That's
little
true.
bit of the others as well.
That's true. So because we don't just use one instrument in our
Yeah,
sessions, we use a lot of different kinds of instruments. So that piece of advice is really, really good. Just start exploring and um making new skills, explore different skills and just be comfortable in them. And I think that's somewhere that you can just start from. That's a
yeah,
very good starting place.
yeah.
Awesome. So before, last but not least, so since this is an episode about music therapy, and of course we need to somehow, put some music element to it. So if there's one tune or song that could describe your career in music therapy, what would that be?
Okay, the song that came to mind was Let It Be, Let It Be, Let It Be, oh let it be. There would be an answer, let it be. I think having shared my journey of, how I became a music therapist, and yeah, let it be, and you will finally find an answer. For me, I found
Mm,
like, yeah, music therapy is something that I really want to do. And also that song relates, I mean, that song means a lot in that sense also, like in a session sometimes, like 3 to 6 months I did not see any response from their client,
mm-hmm.
but just let it be, and eventually there would be an answer when the client
Yeah.
responds, and you're like, yeah, it's actually working, but it just takes that long time because he hasn't learned interaction for 13 years. He
Mm.
hasn't learned that he has a voice, that he can use his voice to communicate, to interact. So, yeah, that would be a song to describe my career.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. I love it. And I think on and on again, I just really feel like your journey just sparks so much of, perseverance, like even like having to work with a client um 3 to 6 months and not having seen any progress. That is tough. That's
Yes,
really
it was.
tough. And that just shows so much, like perseverance in what you do, and yeah, not giving up.
Yes.
So that is really, really good. And before we end, where can our listeners connect with you online? Is there an email or social media, or even, maybe some people are wanting to learn more about MMTA, and where can they find it?
I think the easiest way is for them to go on to mmta.org.my.
Mhm.
That's the Malaysian Music Therapy Association website,
Yeah.
and go to find a music therapist, and you can see me there. And you can just click on the email icon, and you can just straight away write me an email.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want to just easy. Just you can reach out to me. My name, Sherrene,
Mhm.
SHERRENE dot music therapy at
Mhm.
gmail.com. So you can
Awesome.
write to me. Facebook, yes, we have our MMTA Facebook page as well, but it's not an MMTA, it's called Music Therapy in Malaysia. You
Mhm.
can go on that. You can also drop us a message, and I'm one of the admin who manages the inbox and the page. So you can reach me there as well.
Awesome. I will also link all the details in the description box below. So if you'd like to connect with Shereen or MMTA, you can definitely do so
Yep,
there. Yeah,
sure.
awesome. And if you find this um, episode helpful, feel free to share this with your friends and family, or even comment down below and share with us, which part of the podcast really speaks to you the most. And we would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
So yeah, once again, thank you so much, Shireen, for being with us for our first ever episode, and
Yay.
for sharing so much of your insight, wisdom, and experiences with us. I believe this has been nothing but very beneficial for a lot of people. So thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you for this opportunity. And I hope that the listeners out there, this podcast will be helpful for you. Yeah, please, if anything, feel free to reply. However, I'm going on to pop soon, so I might not be able to reply as soon as, like, really, really fast. But rest assured, I will do my best to respond and reply to you.
Awesome. All right. If you'd like to connect with Live Tunes and what we do, feel free to also connect with us in our social media at Live Tunes Music Therapy, and we'd love to chat with you.
Cool.
So, yeah, I think that's the end of our episode for today. Thanks for joining us, and see you in the next one.
See
Bye.
you. Thanks, Ivy. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.